following announcement has been paid for by the new Howl Order.
Whether the team is giving us the highest of highs or the bluest of blues, we'll cover it all here in Commanders Nightly News. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So, I've been very vocal about how I feel about this year's team, the iteration of the Commanders this season, what the presence of Sam Howell brings, EB as a play caller, the prospects of this defense figuring it out, and what that could all mean if it all comes together. I'm confident and borderline bullish. I don't think it's borderline at this point. I'm bullish on Sam, have been and continue to be, and he's given me no reason not to be at this point. I'm bullish on EB, and I've had my doubts and reservations about this defense. I still do, but I know they're capable as well. And with that in mind, I've been very adamant about our ability to not just be able to play and win in any given week, no matter the opponent, but against the upper echelon teams. I think we can compete with them. I know it didn't look that way against Buffalo a couple of weeks ago. Those are some of the growing pains that you have when you have a quarterback at that time making his fourth career NFL start. You're going to run into games like that against those types of teams. But as you saw, he bounced back. And I didn't mix words when I said, I think we can play with the likes of Buffalo or Philadelphia or Dallas or San Francisco, teams that are still on the schedule that we will see at some point, the Dolphins. I'm not afraid of any of them. And to that point, and again, you don't have to feel the same way that I do. You don't have to have the same level of confidence that I do. I'm not telling you to be outside looking to pick fights like I am, And generally, I don't start nothing. I'm not looking for a fight, but I ain't scared either. And if you looking for smoke, I got all the smoke you can ask for and then some. That's how I'm feeling right now. But some of you are like, hey, I'm outside. Okay, it took a lot for me to come outside. I'm outside. Don't ask me to do anything else. Look, I just want you outside. I just want you outside. I ain't asking you to be as vocal as I am. I just want you outside. And a lot of you are like, nah, I'm outside. And I love to hear it. But I want to read this comment. And I told you guys, first of all, thank you guys for all the support. The comments in the comment section are huge. They're everything, because that's what continues to help the video and the channel for that, the channel as well be promoted. When you guys comment, when you hit the like button, that helps the YouTube algorithm say, hey, that's a video that needs to continue to be pushed. So I told you I see all of your comments. I may not respond as I used to as often. And, I can do a better job of hitting the like button so you know that I've seen it. And sometimes I do actually get to hitting it and then something happens, right? Life is crazy, hectic, whatever. But I told you I see everything. So I appreciate you guys, taking the time out of your busy schedules, right? Your life, because, you got shit going on too, to leave me a comment, especially one as detailed as this one that I'm about to read from my guy, King of the North. So I wanted to share this comment and kind of react to it because I think it encapsulates a lot of what you guys are probably feeling out there. And this is not a bad way to go about it right here, okay? So I wanted to read this. So this is from my guy, King of the North, and this was left under the video from yesterday. No moral victories. We let one, get away, and I felt good after that game. Not necessarily. I didn't feel good in the sense that we played well. I expected that. I felt good from the standpoint of I think we can take the momentum built from the Eagles' performance and carry it over on a short week and take care of business against the Chicago Bears team. But I wanted to read this comment from my guy, King of the North. So here it is, right? It says, I love Lou's optimism, and I understand where he's coming from. We have a talented roster, and now we've dropped in the quarterback we've been waiting for. I, however, am nowhere near confident enough to be expecting to beat teams like the Eagles, Cowboys, and Niners. Those teams have made the playoffs, in parentheses, Super Bowl II, the last few years. Those teams routinely blow out lesser opponents. Those teams get off to fast starts, putting them well above 500. We have not done any of that. We beat a scrappy but bad Arizona team and Denver squad that is a hot mess. Until we start beating down lesser opponents, I have us solidly in the wild card hunt tier. I predicted 10 wins, and I'm still confident we can get that, but the next 3 games will go a long way in helping me gain the confidence Lou has in this group. We win the next 3, then I'm confident we can get revenge on Philly. If we blow out at least one of the next 3 opponents while going 3-0, I'm ready to start expecting big wins. My big concern right now is this defense. We've allowed 30-plus points against us in 3 straight. I know context makes it much better than it looks, but it's still been extremely disappointing considering all of the draft capital we've spent on that side of the ball, and they are in the 4th year of JDR's system. I'm tired of the slow starts and seeing JDR not correct big issues until after week 9 or 10. I've always liked JDR, but I'm getting tired of making excuses for him in this D. The lack of aggression, the lack of turnovers, and the blitzes never seeming to get home are now a constant that run through all 4 years of JDR. At some point, we may just have to admit that this D won't do what we expect it to until it's coached by a different coordinator. That is from my guy, King of the North. Or King in the North. Thank you for that comment. That was eloquently and beautifully put. I have nothing to add to that. I think you have encapsulated probably what 90 to 95% of the fan base is feeling right now with that comment right there. And all I will say to this is I do have confidence in our ability to play with the likes of the Eagles, Cowboys, and the 49ers. I think there's proof now that you have been, exposed to last week. Again, I want to win those games. I'm not looking to just compete with those teams. I'm looking to win those games. And I told you going into that Eagles game, not a lot of you, if any, were feeling like I was, where I expected to win that game. I was disappointed when we didn't because in my mind going into that game, I fully expected us to come away victorious. So when we didn't, I was disappointed. I didn't want to hear it was a good game. That's the best I felt after a loss. I wasn't trying to hear any of that because we came there with one purpose and goal in mind, and that was to win. And we didn't get that done, so I was disappointed. With that said, here's the reason why I think we can compete with those teams, in particular Dallas, Philadelphia, and the 49ers. Because none of them look like, and again, I can't stress this enough, and I totally get where you're coming from, especially when you're talking about taking care of business against teams like the one we'll see on Thursday night in the Chicago Bears. You got to find a way to win that game. And again, I told you we could just win by 1 point. While that would be disappointing, just beating the Bears by 1, it's a win, and that's all I care about. But you should be able to take care of the Bears and put them in their place. That's a winless team, and you should treat them as such. You should be able to jump on them early and often. And again, when it comes to playing against teams that aren't good, the key is jumping on them early, like we did against Houston, even though that was disappointing because I was looking to put 30 on Houston's skull last year, and we only beat them 23 to 10 or something like that. It felt worse because it was 23-0 at one point. It felt worse than what it was, but we should have scored 30 plus on Houston last year, and we didn't, right? But we beat them, right? And you just, those are the kind of games. Just find a way to win, take care of business. But the key is do it early. If you don't want to struggle on your hands, if you don't want a team that's feisty, that has a chance to win, that thinks they got a chance to win, you got to take it to them early. If we come out with that same aggression we came out against with Philly and limit the mistakes and actually put the ball in the end zone on the opening drive, because we've moved the ball on every opening drive this season. Every single one. All right? I think with the exception of maybe Arizona, we got some first downs on that drive. I just don't think it culminated in points. But I don't know if we got as close as we did against Denver. We were at the Denver 25-yard line. Buffalo game, I think we might have made it to the Buffalo, 30, 25, 30-yard line. Like, we really were in scoring range in both of those games, and then had sacks and stupid things happen to derail those drives. We didn't have that against Philadelphia. We had to go for it on fourth down. We did. We converted, and we got it in the end zone. And yeah, they had a penalty that helped us. That's not my problem, right? So at the end of the day, we've moved the football open. Now you got to score a touchdown like we did against Philadelphia. Now you got to put yourself in a position to put pressure on a team that's been struggling to keep pace with other teams in ball games, and you got to create that doubt. Here we go again. You look up, the Bears strike first, whether it's a field goal or touchdown, or you look up and it's 4 minutes to go in the first quarter and it's 3-0 Bears or it's 3-0 Washington. They're thinking, yeah, we got a shot today. That's not what you want. You want to get to the end of the first quarter and it's 14-3 Washington. It's 14-0 Washington. It's 13-0 Washington. That's what you want to do. You want to establish dominance early. Let them know this ain't the day. Maybe next week. Not today, right? We'll see what happens. But to your point, these next 3 games are huge. Before the season started, when we took a look at the schedule for the very first time, I told you guys this was the stretch of ball right here that was going to determine what kind of a season we were going to have. I said the start to the season is going to be huge because you need to come out of that no worse than 2-2. You got to find a way to win 2 out of the first 4. We did that. I would have loved to have come out of that thing 3-1. That would have really made a statement considering the teams that we had to play, Buffalo and Philadelphia in particular. But 2-2, you did what you needed to do, right? You split that thing, and then I said, look, these next 3, I got to have them. And we said that when the schedule came out. Nothing changed. All we have done now is we say, okay, we got an offense now. We've validated 2 weeks in a row we've scored, or 2 out of the last 3 weeks, rather, we've scored 30-plus points. Legitimate points. This isn't Dallas with 2 defensive touchdowns, and I'm not knocking that. I wish we had defensive scores. I wish our special teams was able to fake an extra point and get a 2-point conversion. Like, I wish we were doing that stuff, but we're not. But I also love the fact that my offense is way more explosive than Dallas's is. I love that, right? So Dallas hasn't scored 30 points on their own merit offensively this season yet. Haven't done that without the aid of the defense. So, and we've done that twice. So I know we're capable offensively. To your point, though, defensively, it's been disappointing. And I'm not shocked by it. I wish I was. I'm not shocked. I told you guys I was more confident in the offense, and I know a lot of you were saying, how in the offseason, a lot of you questioned me. How could you say that? We're getting Chase Young back this year. This was the number 1 third down defense in the league. I said, you saw the schedule. We've done this song and dance before. You know why they were good last year. We're going to play a much, much higher level of competition at the quarterback position, and that changes everything. And this group hasn't shown me since JDR has gotten here, even in the years where we were good, 2020, 2022, even in those years when we saw good quarterbacks, generally they got the best of us. It's always been us taking full advantage of the not so good quarterbacks, which we will see one on Thursday, and I fully expect this defense to feast on Justin Fields. Now, he had opportunities last year, and he didn't take them. And he's grown since then, even though, it may not seem like it. He's grown. And so we'll see if we can get away with some of the stuff we got away with last year when playing against him. I know one thing, we've got to defend him as a runner a lot better than we did last year, or else we'll be in some trouble. And they actually have more talent at receiver, so you can't be as reckless as we were last year because they got DJ Moore now. They got stuff. So you got to be careful. But with that said, this is an opportunity for the defense to make a statement. And you know how I am. The 3 30-point performances in a row, as you mentioned, the context is everything. I don't subscribe to that. The Broncos had a Hail Mary. Yes, the defense was out there for that, and it happened. But they didn't score 30 points, without the Hail Mary. Okay, yeah, absolutely, they scored 30, and the defense wasn't great to start that game either. So, I'm not trying to take them off the hook, but that wasn't a legitimate 30-point performance that they gave up. The Bills game, you know how I feel about that. We turned the ball over 5 times. There's a pick 6 in there. You know, there's a fumble at our own 20-yard line. Like, I don't really know what you expected the defense to do at that point of the game when there was already 3 turnovers already given up, and they've had to battle all day, and they've been on the field all second half long for the most part. They've been on the field a ton. We were 1 of 9 on third downs. We turned it over 5 times. Like, I don't know what you were expecting from the defense in a game like that. I would love it if they would have come out, but they did what they did. To me, that's not a 30-point performance either. But it is. The numbers say it is, so it is. Last week was the one legitimate 30-point performance we gave up off defensively to me, where I was disappointed in the outcome because I made this abundantly clear before the season started. If you can just give me the kind of defense you gave me last year, where you were holding opponents routinely to 23 points or less, this offense is going to score, and they've already shown this already through the first 4 weeks. They're going to score, on average, more than 23 points, right? And my thing was, if you could just hold opponents to like 21 points, I know this offense can get us 23. Well, this offense has scored 35 and 31 respectively in 2 of the last 3 games. And we had to have almost every single one of those points in both games. And in the second one, it wasn't enough. 31 wasn't enough. You go on the road to Philadelphia and you score 31 points, 4 touchdowns, and 5 red zone trips. That should be enough with this so-called elite defense that we're supposed to have. That should be enough. You go to Denver and you put up 35, we shouldn't be eking by. Even though we were up, we were up big late in that game. We were up 11 with probably 3 minutes to go in the game. We were up 11. Doesn't matter. You shouldn't find yourself clinging to a 2-point lead with a 2-point conversion being the difference between you heading to overtime and probably losing the game or holding on for dear life and coming out of that thing 2-0. But that's where the defense has been, and that's what the position that it's put us in to this point. So I agree with you there. And these next 3 games are going to be a huge test for this defense because we're not playing world beaters the next 3 weeks. We're playing very deficient offenses each of the next 3 weeks. The Giants scored 3 points this past weekend. The Falcons scored 7. And the Bears, they scored 28 to their credit. But the week before, they scored 10. So I'll say this. This offense is a huge part of what we want to do. And I know that they're capable. If we need to get into a shootout, I think they're fully capable. Like, had Terry Foote been in, I think we win a shootout against the Philadelphia Eagles. Had they gone for 2, I think we win a shootout with the Philadelphia Eagles. But that's just me. I think they're fully capable of winning a shootout, something we haven't been in past years. But if this defense isn't going to actually participate and take some of the pressure off of the offense so that they don't have to be perfect every week, so that they don't have to score 34 to win a game. Because if we scored 32, we lose to Denver. They scored 33. If we scored 32, we beat Philadelphia in regulation. But if we scored 32, then we still lose that game, right? Like, we shouldn't have to score 33 points, 34 points to win every week. That onus is on the defense to figure this shit out and be better. That'll be Sam, and I can't stress this enough, Sam's development, maturation, and continued growth is number 1 on the list of things that has to continue to happen in order for us to take that next step. The second thing is going to be this defense is going to have to carry its weight. For too long, it's been, the opposite. Hey, this offense has got to help this defense out. Now, we know the offense is capable. The defense has to come to the party. We can't keep talking about these 4 first-round picks that we got across this line and not getting anything out of them. Now, again, I think some of that is snap. How much you're playing Daron Payne, how much you're playing Jonathan Allen. You know, I think some of that is, hey, they just dog tired. You want more out of these dudes? One, defense, get off the field. That'll reduce your snap count right there. And then two, offense, you sustain offense. And three, you're going to have to get guys to play better so that you're confident in putting them on the field and not feeling like, oh my God, we can't survive without Deron Payne on the field. So you want Deron Payne at his best? Don't have him playing 94% of the snaps in a game in which there were 71 or 78 defensive snaps or whatever the number was. Don't have him playing, 94% of the snaps. But we just got to be better across the board on defense in particular. But before the season, did anybody have us winning the division? I didn't. I had us as a wild card. So, I mean, you saying that you had us as a 10-win team before the season started and that we're wild, like that's what I was aiming for. Like, I'm not running away from an opportunity to play for the division chip. If that happens to be in our path in the journey that we're on this year, yeah, absolutely. Let's go for it. But my goal was always, I just want one of these 7 playoff spots. I just want one of them. I want our name to be on one of those spots. When they shut the door and they say, hey, the bonus football is inside and all the rest of the teams are on the outside looking in, I want to be inside when they shut the door and lock it. And if that's 10 wins, if that's 11 wins, so be it. But I'm right there with you, man. This defense has to play better. And until they start taking care of business against teams they're supposed to beat, it's going to be hard for you. But when's the last time we lost to a team that we should have beat? When's the last time we done that? And I haven't given this any thought. You probably will say, well, we actually lost to this team last year. Cleveland. That's got to be it, right? Cleveland, we should have beat the Browns. But they started Carson Wentz, and we know what happened there. We've been pretty good against teams we're supposed to beat. That's the point I'm trying to make. But to your point, it's usually not easy. When we played Atlanta last year, we were better than the Falcons. Barely got it. We needed a Kendall Fuller pick off of a Deron Payne tip to secure a victory, or else we would have lost to the Falcons last year. So I get it. We went to Indianapolis, the first career start for Sam Ehlinger, and they're probably a Michael Pittman Jr. drop away after turning it over in the red zone, or at least going towards the red zone multiple times, which saved us, and a bad decision by Michael Pittman to cut in on a jet sweep that all he had to do was just keep running towards the pylon and he would have walked into the end zone. We're a Michael Pittman Jr. drop on the final possession of the game away from probably losing on a game-winning field goal to a hapless Indianapolis Colts team. I get it. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. This same Bears team should have beaten us last year, but we were a different team last year. This is a different team this year, and it's an offensive team that can score. And when you can score, that's how you separate yourself from bad teams. That's why I'm so confident this year. Bad teams don't score a lot of points, generally speaking. It's rare that you're the Chargers and you start the season off 0-2, or you're the Vikings and you start off the season 0-3, but you're capable of scoring 40. That's rare. Generally, bad teams look like Chicago, look like Denver, look like the teams that struggle to score, generally speaking. All right? Generally speaking. Bad teams look like the Giants. That's what they usually look like. And if you run it up on the scoreboard, they can't compete. We have the capability of doing that this year, which is why I think it's going to be different this year. But they got to go out, and the thing that I've said to you guys, even in my confidence, I've said the thing that I'm lacking right now is consistency. That's the last piece of the puzzle for me, is consistency. Going out with that same effort against Philadelphia and applying it to Chicago. And then doing it again the following week with a much better defensive performance, obviously, and applying that to Atlanta and then the Giants. And then getting a shot at Philly again at 5-2, riding a 3-game winning streak. The consistency is the piece we're missing right now. Once I see that, you can't tell me nothing. But great post, man. Great post. I think there's a lot in there that is, to me, it's so true and it holds up. And we got to see it. I got to see it. Consistency is the name of the game for me. Let's get to in other news. So, heard from Rivera, heard from Sam Howell, some players in the locker room, Brian Robinson Jr., Terry McLaurin, etc., Logan Thomas. So we'll get to some of the things that were said. But before we do that, let's take a look at the injury report. Quick turnaround. We're already on Tuesday. Tomorrow's a glorified walkthrough. Monday was a glorified walkthrough. You really don't have a ton of practice this week. You're installing, and you just got to get everybody on the same page. So let's take a look at the injury report for both teams. We start with the good guys. Jahan Dotson, ankle limited on Monday and Tuesday. So remember, Monday was not actually a day of practice. That's what they project would have been the case had there been practice. Now, I don't know if you guys knew that Jahan had suffered an ankle injury, but there was a play, and I want to say it was in either the third or the fourth quarter, where he has a target, and then it's incomplete, and he jogs off the field, but he's limping. And I was like, uh-oh. But, he finished the game. He caught the game-tying touchdown, and, he finished the game. And then he was at the presser. He was one of the guys that was at the podium after the game. And the last question of his press conference was, how's your ankle? And he said, fine, and he walked off. So, he should be fine. He should be good to go. And the beauty of this is if we could just get through this game unscathed, guys like Jahan will get that extra time to heal and be even, more prepared and healthier for the Falcons game the following week. We just got to get through. Curtis could use some extra time. He's been on the injury report the last 3 weeks. This will be the third week now. He could use some extra time, right? So if we could just get through this game, guys like Jahan and Curtis and anybody else that's been dealing with a little something, Benjamin St. Juste is his second week on the injury report. Guys that we know are dealing with stuff like Jonathan Allen and Terry, who aren't on this thing, will have that extra time to get themselves ready. And we just got to win. We just got to win this game. Get through this thing healthy, win this game, and we will be so much better because of it. This pseudo bye is exactly what this team needs. Just got to win this game. So Jahan ankle limited today and yesterday. Christian Holmes didn't practice yesterday, wouldn't have practiced yesterday, was limited today. Chris Rodriguez, as we know, missed last week with an illness, limited today and yesterday if there was practice. Curtis Samuel, a quad injury, didn't practice yesterday or would not have practiced yesterday, was limited today. Again, I expect all these guys to play. Every single guy on this list I expect to play on Thursday. Quan Martin, thumb, full yesterday if there were practice, full today. And same with Benjamin St. Juste with the neck, full yesterday if there were practice, full today. You get to the Bears side of things. This is a really small list for them, so they're relatively healthy. Chase Claypool, right now they're not happy with him, and he's just not going to play because they're not vibing right now. He wants more opportunities. They don't think he's done anything to earn those opportunities, and so he's kind of just in no man's land right now. Eddie Jackson, that's a big one because he's a ball hawking, free safety that when he's around the ball, bad things happen for the opposition, good things happen for the Bears. So if he doesn't play, that's huge. Same with Jalen Johnson. That's their best corner. If he can't go with a hamstring injury, that's huge. That's another guy that's out in that secondary that we feel like we can take advantage of. So that's huge. And then this sucks that Tevin Jenkins, who is currently on, who just was, he was able to come off of the PUP list. If you put a guy on IR to start the season off, they had to miss the first 4 weeks. He was on IR. He's not eligible to come off. He was a full participant today. He's going to play more likely than not. I wanted to try to take advantage of that offensive line the way that it was constituted the first 3 weeks of the season, first 4 weeks rather. He's a big part of their offensive line. At right tackle, I was really looking forward to taking advantage of a Tevin Jenkins-less offensive line. Doesn't look like that's going to be the case, but we'll see what happens. But the guess is he'll be out there on Thursday night. But if those two guys in the secondary aren't, that's huge. We'll keep our eye on that for tomorrow and see exactly what happens there. So we heard from Rivera. He talked about, again, the growth and maturation of this team. You know, the Bears have a special place in his heart, obviously, having played his entire NFL career there, starting his NFL coaching career, or, well, having it in there as a coordinator, because he started out, I believe, in Philadelphia with Andy Reid. Then he went to the Chargers to become a linebackers coach. And then he got the defensive coordinator job in Chicago before getting the head coaching job in Carolina. So there's a special place in Ron Rivera's heart for Chicago. And he talked about the struggle that they're going through right now and how that was us last year, right? And this was the game we turned our season around. If you remember, last year we were 1-4, kind of wandering around aimlessly. Season felt done after that heartbreaking loss to the Titans. And quick turnaround, and we went to Chicago. It wasn't pretty, but it was gritty, and most importantly, it was a dubski. We got it done 12-7, I believe the score was last year. It was a snooze fest, but Benjamin St. Juste came up with a huge play late in that ball game to secure the victory, and that could happen for Chicago is essentially Ron's message. Like, we can't allow us to be the team that they, get their first win off of. We got to come out and we got to play with that same mindset. Treat them like they Philadelphia. Don't treat them like they the Chicago Bears. Treat them like they the Philadelphia Eagles. Go in with that mindset of, hey, we got to play clean ball. We can't make mistakes. We can't beat ourselves. You got to go in with that same mindset every week. And that's what we're missing right now. That's the difference between Kansas City, Buffalo, Philadelphia, is that they go out and they treat every opponent like, hey, sometimes you can get a lackluster effort, but it's not because they disrespecting their opponent. It's because, the other team might have gotten up for this game and the Eagles or the Chiefs just not matching that energy. But generally they come out and they put their foot on those teams' necks. And that's what we need to do. We need to treat them like they Philadelphia. Come out with that set, because they're not Philadelphia. And if we come out and we score touchdowns on our first 2 possessions like we did against Philadelphia, I don't think they can match that energy. And once you start seeing that this team ain't effing around and they start putting together drives on you and it starts to snowball and you're an 0-4 team, it can get away from you real quick. That's what we got. That's the type of time we got to be on. And Ron was pretty much saying that's what we got to be in this game. A lot of the conversation surrounded today with, the first 15 scripted. There were a number of questions surrounding that. Ron talked about his experience with the first 15, what the purpose of it is. So there was a conversation about that. I won't get into the specifics of that. You want that, we won't listen to the presser. But I will tell you that there was a conversation about Quan Martin, because if you're watching teams around the league, and I think part of the reason this conversation came up was because we watched a Monday night game last night featuring the Seattle Seahawks, and you're watching a first round pick go out and shine and dominate, pick 6, 2 sacks, just really impacting the game. And here we are. If you watch the Lions, they've been on primetime twice in the first 4 weeks. And we see their draft picks making an impact. Their second round pick, safety Brian Branch, is playing at a Pro Bowl type level, with an injury. So you constantly see this and see guys having impacts that are young players, and you're saying, hey, what's going on with this draft class? And so they were asking about Quan Martin, and Ron said, look, man, and this is why I have an issue with you drafting him in the first place, is you knew you drafted Percival Butler last year, and you knew you wanted to play him. You already knew you had Cam Curl. Now, again, unless you know something that we don't know, you're not re-signing Cam Curl, unless you know something that we don't and you're prepping for the future. If Cam Curl's a part of your future, then the Quan Martin pick is a bit of a head scratcher, because what's stopping this same trio of safeties next year from being in front of Quan Martin and stopping him from getting on the field? If you re-sign Cam Curl, Defoe's still on his rookie contract, Percival Butler's still on his rookie contract. If they are playing well and you believe in them, what's stopping Quan Martin from continuing to only be a special teams player as a second round pick? That was my problem. If you already had a log jam at that position, And I know you love the player, but if you drafted this guy, and I know you drafted him with the intent of him coming in and being better than Percy Butler, and he hasn't been. But if you drafted this guy knowing that there was already a logjam at the position, where's the psychological sense in that? You could have drafted a different position that could have used more help, i.e. the offensive line, right? That guy could have been on the field right now as a right tackle. Whomever you drafted in the second round, that guy could be helping us right now. You could have drafted a return man, right? That could be helping us right now at receiver and at return, right? Like there's a spot on the roster for a return man right now. And even if he's not getting meaningful snaps at receiver, he's touching the ball multiple times every week as a second round pick. And we know that Curtis Samuel may not be back next year. That would have made more sense than drafting Quan Martin, knowing that there was a logjam at safety. We could go on and on. You could have drafted a defensive end. There's not a single defensive end right now under contract next year on the roster, except for the 2 rookies that you selected this year. There ain't a single guy. One guy is under contract for next year, and that's Andre Jones Jr. You could have taken a defensive end in the second round. Nobody would have blinked. Anyway, Ron's like, bro, there's a logjam. Guys are playing well in front of him. There's nothing we can do. Again, you got to have the foresight to know, hey, we really like Percy Butler. We drafted him last year. We feel like he's going to develop nicely, similar to Defoe. He's going to have that year 2 jump. And there won't be any real opportunities for Quan Martin to get on the field. You got to know that. You got to have the foresight. How about drafting a nickel corner then? How about doing that? So Benjamin St. Juste doesn't have to slide inside. So that if you don't want to play a man, when you're having a game like Forbes had on Sunday, you can just say, all right, we got a nickel. We don't need the young fella to endure this. I personally want him to take his lumps, though. I ain't mad at it. I hate losing a game because they're able to take advantage of a young pup. But he's got to learn. Him sitting on the sideline ain't going to help him get better. But that was pretty much Ron's presser. We heard from Sam Howell today. He talked about, the growth that he saw from weeks 3 to 4. Just believing in himself, not playing against the other team's quarterback, but just continuing to try to be the best version of himself. I love this dude, man. The answers are so good every week to every question, right? Like, I'm not playing against, Justin Fields. I'm just trying to be the best version of Sam Howell I can be so that I can provide my team with the best opportunity to win. That's all I'm looking to do. I was more decisive. I got the ball out of my hands, and I want to continue to grow, and I want to continue to build off of what we did last week. That's the perfect answer, right? And it was a lot of the same. He talked about, growing from that week 3 shellacking. He talked about the things that they did in week 4, and, talked about the Bears and some of the challenges that they present. And at the end of the day, and he also talked about the quick turnaround. Like, this is why I think it's really key that he didn't play last year. He got to experience a lot of this stuff without actually playing. So it was really beneficial. He's like, yeah, I did the Thursday night thing last year. I didn't play, obviously, but I saw what it was like to prep for a Thursday game last year. I saw what Carson and what Taylor had to go through last year. I was a part of that process, so I know that quick turnaround. The only difference is this year I got to actually be the one putting in the extra work. I got to be the one trying to get my body right. I didn't have to do that last year, but, he got to see that. He got to experience that. So he's like, yeah, I kind of got that drift. He said we played some Thursday games in college too. It's not the same as the NFL, but, I've experienced it, so I'm not as taken aback as I was last year. So, all of that stuff matters. All of that stuff to me matters. And you heard from some of the other players, Terry, talking about the continued growth and maturation of his relationship with Sam, and not just his, but the rest of the receivers. He's like, one of the biggest things, because we all saw the issues with spacing early in the season, the first 3 weeks in particular. The spacing issues were, to me, much bigger than people were leading on. Because there were often times where we're watching film and I'm like, why are two guys in the same area? And it would be a completion and I'd be like, that's still not how that's supposed to look, right? Two guys shouldn't be, like, you can't be bringing extra heat to where the ball's going. Like, that can't be the way that thing was drawn up. And Terry talked about the spacing and he's like, that's something we still working out, because if Sam expects you to be in a certain location and you're not, he's not going to cut it loose. And that's going to force him to pat it and hold on to it, and then now he's sat. And everybody's talking about the offensive line. Everybody's talking about Sam got to get rid of it. But if we're not where we're supposed to be, if we're not hitting our landmarks when we're supposed to hit them, he can't cut it loose with the confidence knowing that this ball isn't going to be picked off or something bad isn't going to happen. So we got to, as receivers, we got to get where we're supposed to be when we're supposed to be there. And the spacing needs to be correct. So they're still ironing out those things. Ron even talked about it today. Like, we still, like, in the infant stages of the season, even though we're going into week 5, they're still working out kinks. So, Terry talked about that. And then, he talked about getting over that loss and kind of happy that it's a short week, that they can get back on the field. Sam even spoke to that as well. Like, yeah, don't really have time to dwell on that. We got to turn around and find a way to get it done on Thursday. So it's always good. Brian Robinson Jr. talked, as well. I just think he needs more opportunities. I think he's every week he's getting better and better and better. And I just think he needs more and more opportunities. So let's transition into our first look at the Chicago Bears. We all know that it's a blackout, and it'll be our first time at home in a night atmosphere wearing the black unis. I think it's going to be dope. I can't wait to actually see what it looks like. Now, I've already been told by multiple fans that they've been spreading the gospel about this blackout, and they've met resistance at every turn. They're people who just are purists. They're traditionalists. They don't believe in black being a part of the color scheme. They're going to wear their burgundy jerseys. They're going to wear their white jerseys. They don't want to hear anything about a black jersey. So there's that. It's already a sellout, which is a great thing. This is not the Bills Mafia that's showing up. So I think there's going to be a ton of Commanders fans. There are going to be some Bears fans here too. Like, don't get it twisted, but they're 0-4. So I don't know if you're going to have Bears fans eager. This isn't like Detroit, who has this resurgence. They're 3-1 and they're eager to travel. Like, they went and damn near took over Lambeau Field last week. That's different for Detroit fans, right? But they're hungry. They're winning. That's not what Chicago's doing right now. So this has a chance to be more like week 1 against Arizona than it was week 3 against Buffalo. So looking forward to that. Not a lot to really get into today other than we know who the Bears are, right? We know who they are. They gained some confidence last week. I told you guys this directly after the game during the post-game show. They gained confidence. They should have won. They had Denver dead to rights. It was 28-7 in the third quarter, and they collapsed. And Fields turned it over, and they got all out of sorts, and you could see that avalanche coming, and they couldn't stop it. And that's why I think it is imperative that we jump these boys early, because they are a team that plays off of momentum. And when that momentum is skewed towards the other team and they start getting it going, Chicago usually doesn't have an answer. It gets out of control. That's what happened to them against Green Bay in week 1. That was a close game early. And then Green Bay got the momentum, and then Fields threw a pick 6, and it just swelled, and before you know it, it was a blowout. Kansas City jumped those boys so fast it made their heads spin, and before they knew it, that thing was 24 or 27 nothing at halftime. And then they looked up, and it was 41-0, right? And then it ended up being like, or 41-10 or whatever, right? Like, that's what you got to do to these boys. They don't have the wherewithal right now to handle adverse situations. They usually pack it up and fold up like a cheap umbrella with a little touch of wind, right? When it gets tough, they haven't learned how to weather the storm. We got to make it tough on them early. And that's really all I have to say right now about the Bears. Tomorrow, we will go behind enemy lines and really, kind of dive into what I think, it should be points of emphasis in this game in particular. But that's the overarching theme, is just jump these boys early. Set the tone in this game. We're fully capable. That Bears defense is not what they thought it was going to be, and they may be down a couple of guys in that secondary. We got to take advantage. So that's our first look at the Chicago Bears. They're hungry. They want to win a game. It can't be us. It cannot be us. So that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on Commanders Nightly News. I thank you guys for joining me. If you're a member of the MOBB, we're going live tonight, 10:30 to break down the film of the Week 4 contest versus the Philadelphia Eagles. We'll do exactly like we did last week with the Bills, and we'll get through it pretty quickly. I see no need in having us, slog through the film, with a 3-hour film session. I think we can start doing these in an hour and 30 minutes or so, roughly. So I don't want to hold you longer than I need to. If you're a member of any of the LTN exclusives, we'll be having our kickback session tonight at 9 p. Hopefully you'll be able to join me for that. But if not, I'll see you tomorrow. We'll be live tomorrow night for Commanders Nightly News Live. We'll have a ton of topics, including a thorough breakdown of these Bears, really getting behind enemy lines and talking about what it's going to take for us to do what we feel like we need to do, what we're supposed to do. We don't say that very often. We haven't said that here in Washington for a very long time, doing what we're supposed to do. We've been too scared and don't want to jinx it, that kind of bullshit. That's the stuff you do when you're inside with the door locked and you got 5 locks on the door with one of the little chains at the top. And then you go inside the closet and you shut that and you turn off that light too. That's the kind of stuff you do. I don't want to jinx it. We outside now. We talking big talk. Ain't no more of this. Oh, I don't want to jinx it. No, let's do what we supposed to do to Chicago. Treat them like a 0-4 team. Abuse these boys. We'll talk about how we can potentially get that done a little bit more tomorrow. But that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T. You know what it is. Post up. Take command. Until next time, you guys have a good one. Take care.
Here comes the diesel. Here comes the diesel. There's the snap. Hand to Riggins. Good hold. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35, the 30, the 20. He's gone. He's gone.